show you how to pattern match large prints on a design for high-level sewing and couture techniques. Alright guys, I just wrapped up a video where I show you how to make a dartless dress for my 3-piece sloper set, and I reverse engineer it with one of my designs, my halter mini dress, and I actually even have that in a size 6 hand drawn out available for you on my website. So I hope you watch that video. I'll put the link below, as well as letting me know if you want more sizes in the halter dress itself. And when I was doing that, I had this thought, what is the best thing to showcase on these dresses? And that is large prints. So I thought this would be a perfect way to show you how to actually pattern match large prints a high-level sewing way and the couture sewing way. And I want to show you how that is done. So before we even get started, I'm going to have to explain the 5 key elements that you're going to need to know, and then I'm going to demonstrate that with the actual process on the flat. Number 1 is that you're going to have to find a pattern that is suitable for large prints. What do I mean? That means the least amount of gathers, the least amount of darts, the least amount of cuts and pleats and tucks. You want to showcase the actual design properly. Number 2, very essential, is to find a print that in the scale is the right size for your actual design. Meaning you don't want a 12-inch flower on something that is this small and this mini, because it will overtake the actual design and not showcase the floral properly. Number 3, before you even get started buying or getting the yardage for your fabric, when you're picking a pattern online or in person, make sure that you see the yardage, but then either physically see the print that you're buying or online and check the repeat, meaning check how many inches it is from one part of that repeat to the other part of the repeat, vertically and horizontally, and add that to the yardage before you cut it. Number 4, if you have any pattern piece that is cut on fold or just half of a pattern that you know is going to be open in the final results, redraw that pattern either in tissue paper or in a sheer white paper like this, flat, cutting once so that you can actually navigate your print and place it where you want it to be. And number 5 is that when you're working with your designs and your prints, to be mindful not to put those large prints strategically in areas like your bust, your waist, and your hip to accent it wrongly. You want to use that print to accent and to highlight what you want from your body and what you don't want from the pattern itself. All right, let's get on the flat and let me show you the steps. All right, here I am with the fabric laid out. That'll be number 6, guys. You do not want to place your fabric on fold. It is always laid out flat. And I wanted to point out something, and that is the dartless dress or the column dress that I showed you on the last video. In couture high-level dressing, they would match the side seams also as much, not on the bust area, but maybe on the hip area, as well as the back seam with the pattern so that you have your eye follows it all the way around the design. I'm going to show you how to match the center back seam and possibly matching the sides. Let me show you that now. The first step with your pattern, if the pattern doesn't already indicate it, is to know the seam allowance on your pattern. So this I have, because this is a couture dress, I have an inch here in the back. That's the way all my couture dresses were. That's for clients and etc. But it's a half of an inch everywhere else. So measure that out and put markings on your pattern so you have the half of an inch marking on all of your pattern pieces, because you're going to need that in the process of pattern matching. So go ahead and put your indications of your seam allowance all the way around your pattern so you know what to fold back and so you can match up your designs. Then you want to observe the fabric itself. You want to take a look at it and you want to see with the design itself, what is the most predominant part of that print. On this one, it is my pink flowers. The pink flowers are the largest and the most visible of the print. And I know that I don't want to have those strategically at the bust, the waist, or the hip. So where would I put that plumb line of that design to be? And I'm going to try not to waste so much fabric because I have just very little. So I'm going to bring it all the way up here and make the florals as the center plumb line of this design. Once I do that, unfold your pattern. I'm going to measure from the center to the selvage to make sure that this is actually lining up straight. Adjust it if I need to. Secure it down. So this is where it gets tricky. If you don't have enough space for your pattern width, with the repeat, you're going to have to do some navigating. So let's measure the repeat. So I'm folding back the hip because that's where I want it to match. And I'm looking at this flower itself. Where does that flower repeat? And that goes all the way to here. So that flower repeats all the way to here, so it's quite a large repeat. It's about 26 inches on this. And I don't have enough room if I put it where it belongs, because as you can see, it is way past the selvage, so back to square one. I'm now going to move my plumb line. Instead of the pink flowers being the center, I'm going to make the red flowers my center. So I can get as much over here as I can on the pattern itself. Once I have that laid out, I'm going to measure it again. And weigh it down. Now I'm measuring from the bottom of the design to the bottom of the pattern and putting a mark like that. Finding my design repeat, which is way over here. And just to show you, I'm going to fold this and bring this over where that design is, so you can see where the pattern is. And I'm making a quick check to see that I'm going to have enough width here on the pattern to do this. I think barely, but let's do it. And now that I see that I have enough here for the width, I'm okay. Just to be more precise, I'm going to go ahead and cut out that pattern piece first so that I can lay it out next to this one. Usually if you're doing a couture dress, you would have tissue paper underneath the fabric to keep it stabilized and just use weights. But because I don't have tissue paper, I'm actually having to pin it down to get it really to stay in place. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut this out just to show the demonstration better. Now I'm going to carry the first pattern piece with it folded back and try to find the same pattern and match it up. Like that. And we want to make sure that these two notches of the design matches as well, where I marked it on that pattern and that pattern. This was my dilemma. I found it more important to match the straighter seam out, so to match this flower rather than trying to match this at the waist. This will go inside as well. Okay, on the pattern, I folded back the center back seam. I pin marked the back seam. Now I'm going to check out the vertical repeat. I'm going to try to find the pattern, which I think I found. go. I'm actually going to pin mark the other side for the center seam. Now that I matched the pattern to the design itself, all the way down, pin mark to pin mark is set. This is where tissue paper comes in handy. When I did this a million years ago, this was all with tissue paper. Then I'm going to flip it gently to the other side. Again, lining up pin mark to pin mark. Secure it down. Measuring your grain line so make sure the salvage is accurate. And cut it out. So I had to work on the salvage, but normally you would avoid that at all costs because that will pull your design. And let's see how we did. I'm going to take this off. Now I'm taking all the pin markings away. And line up my pattern. There's going to be an invisible zipper there. So you're only going to sew up till here. So that's pattern matching in the cutting process. The sewing process is a totally different thing. You pattern matched up until where your zipper would be. The side seam, you try to pick an area that is more straight. That's why I don't really want a flare. So I chose to go further down to pattern match the bottom part of the hem because that was straighter than up here. All right, I hope this was helpful. I hope that you make your mini dress and make it in a beautiful floral and tell me all about it. I would love to hear from you down below, and keep watching, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.